Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for checking in with us again this week, for being on the call. One of the questions that Mike fielded last week, and he came up with this idea, was about structuring a professional management meeting. In a lot of years in the auto industry, I've found that, there's really only a couple types of meetings that I ever see, and there's probably really three main types you could have, but the one I usually see is not the most effective. And what I'm going to do today is just go over a brief outline of whether it's a departmental manager to his employees or it's a senior management person with his department managers. I think it's very important that you find a format that's both productive and, most important, consistent with your people. The majority of meetings that I've ever been in this business, I refer to as, wandering generalities. Someone comes in, they have something on their mind that they put the time and thought and research into, probably a full 90 seconds to 3 minutes, somewhere in there. And it's usually when they're driving in the lot and they notice something. And it usually starts with a blame. Who left the car parked out front with the plate on it? That is not a professional management meeting. That's a bitch, moan, and complaint session. We don't need that. What we need to do is come in prepared. Little side announcements can be for after the fact. You don't start a meeting with them. I wouldn't even suggest finishing it with them, but if you must, then do it after the fact. Your core meeting messages have to be consistent. So if you're a senior management person and you're going to have a manager's meeting, have something that each manager is required to bring. Have the notes from the previous manager's meeting. Don't go from recollection. Because more often than not, that's a futile attempt at trying to manage and lead people. It's much better to start, say, Mike, last time we had a meeting, you did tell me you were going to call ABC Body Shop about their past due balance. Isn't that right? Well, yeah. Well, did you? No. Okay, I'll stop the meeting and I'll wait for you to do that. If you do something like that once or twice, guess what everybody does? They're going to have their notes prepared and they're going to be ready to do it from there on in. So it's be consistent. It's have an outline. It's have the notes from the previous meeting. Pick up where you left off. Ask yourself this question. How many meetings that I'm in are regurgitated beat-ups from the previous meeting or two meetings before or whatever someone thought to mention it? I sat through way too many time wasters. Boy, when you got managers that are just moaning about meetings, meeting to death, because they meet and nothing happens, have them each bring something. Have it based on the accounting of their department. If one department needs to be looking at expenses, then that's the topic for that person. And then they can get input from other managers who are professional managers, have done research on their own things, and have some intelligent input. It's not an opinion fest. It's got to be a fact fest. So really, the best way to do it is, go to your office manager, have them bring things. And if you're doing, say, accounts receivable, you want to review your receivables. If you're doing, you're doing your contracts in transit within that, your inventories, things like that. You're going to touch on your parts inventory. You're going to look at work in process, which should be a very incredibly low number, but you're going to look at that as well. And so as you sit in there and you're reviewing all the assets of the company with them, every manager in there has a responsibility for certain assets. If you're going to do a meeting and it's about training, then keep it about training. How well are your people training their people? What process do we have in place to maintain the highest level quality person we can, to develop the best quality level person we can? And, if it's, I've been working with him and, he's doing good for a salesman, that usually means we threw him on the floor. He's waiting on customers. He's costing you a fortune. But don't worry, I got this. That is not a warm, fuzzy feeling for a dealer or a senior manager. Anytime I ever heard something like that, it made my stomach turn, because really what they really said was, I have no plan. We're not prepared, and I don't have a structure. Ooh, that's a nice, warm, fuzzy feeling. So you take the time and you put the structure together, and you execute that structure. None of this is rocket science. This is all really easy stuff, but what makes it easy to do is also what makes it really easy not to do. So we want to stay in touch with our plan, with our goals. What are we trying to accomplish with our people? Obviously, we want to make them better. We want to develop them. So structure the meeting. Go to your office manager. Find out what reports that she would run for each manager, make it educational as well as informative. Your managers will start to act more professionally. When you write out your agenda, have a right-hand column and put down the amount of time you will spend on that topic. The only time you ever exceed that by 1 second is if the group is in an active, productive discussion. Don't let your meeting go off the rails. Keep it straightforward, and you'll find that in a very short period of time, you'll train everyone to interact with you that way. One of the biggest problems that dealers have is, we're mommy and daddy to everybody. They come and they want, well, who parked their car out front? Oh, did you know so-and-so was 20 minutes late? And you start to spin immediately. If it says manager on your people's cards, you know what their job description is? Whatever is right, whatever it takes. That's their job description. So if service sees a problem in parts, they don't need to come whining to you. They should be able to address it manager to manager like adults. Same thing if they have a problem with an employee. Address it. The faster you address things, the less problems you have because they're issues and they're dealt with while they're issues. Things fester, they become problems. So when you're thinking about a professional management meeting and how to structure it, left-hand column, what you're going to cover, and then underneath, who's going to cover that? Middle column, what information is going to be required, and where were we last time? And then the right-hand column, how much time you're going to allocate to it. When I tell someone we're going to have a 60-minute meeting, I intend to have them out of there in 55 to 58 minutes. And I'm going to make it a point to tell them that's what we did. So if something runs amok, don't just extend your meeting into 2 hours. The average adult attention span is about 10 minutes. So 2 hours is just Chinese water torture. Keep the meeting moving and don't let, and you all have them, don't let one manager dominate the meeting about his department. Very politely and very firmly say, okay, Ray, you're going to go ahead with parts right now, and Ray, we have 5 minutes time limit, so go. And enforce the time limit. You know what will happen? They'll find more direct ways to communicate when you do that. They won't pontificate. They won't get on the soapbox. They're going to communicate more directly. So the structure of one of these is easy. We've been through that. The execution requires discipline by whoever's holding the meeting. If you're going to have a meeting with employees, have written things that you're going to cover and how long you're going to take it. We tend to get into the most sideways conversations with our employees, and we talk about everything but keeping the main thing the main thing. The main thing is, are we running our business well? Is it as profitable as we could be? Are the people doing the right thing for each other and our customers? If those things are being met, your business is going to be very successful. But if you don't want to have meetings that are wandering generality, and then probably my number 2 type is the ones where they come in and talk at you endlessly. You don't have to prepare anything. You just have to sit and endure it. That's my hostage close. We'll let you go when the meeting's over. You just have to sit there and like it or pretend to like it. I've attended way too many of those in my life. And then, there's a third kind where it's whatever the rant of the day or the week is. We're going to fix our CSI right now. Well, there's more to it than just getting people to send in good surveys. What's causing the bad surveys? What's the common thread? You can dig it deep enough to determine if there's one consistent culprit in this. So don't call a meeting as a result of poor CSI and yell at everybody. That makes no sense. We tend to do things like that. So, you don't want to talk at them. You don't want to have the rant of the day. And you don't want to have a wandering generality. And I would say most of the meetings are wandering generalities. They have 1 or 2 topics, and then other people bring up something. Well, who's leaving lunches in the lunchroom? What are you talking about? Well, in the fridge. I mean, there's stuff that's old in there. That is not a conversation for a professional management meeting. That's something for whoever feels responsible for that to send an email out to everybody or to post a note on the refrigerator. That is not something that should take up your time. You are running, even as an individual department manager, you're running multi-million-dollar businesses here. Multi-million-dollar potential. Remember that when you're in the meeting. If you treat your staff the right way and you're developing your people and you run professional quality management meetings, you're going to get professional quality results. And you're going to get them every time. And one day you're going to realize the reason you're getting professional quality results consistently is because you've been consistent. So last time for a quick review, 3 columns. Left-hand column, write down what the topic is. Underneath, write what manager is responsible for it. In the middle, what are they responsible for bringing, and what did we have last week that we covered in that given topic? And then on the right-hand side, how long you're going to allocate to that. That's where the discipline and consistency comes in. If you have a manager that takes 10 minutes to tell you a 5-minute story, give them 5 minutes. Give them 4 minutes. Guess what? When you cut them off, next week, you'll have the story in 4 minutes. So I just want to give you that today. And thank you, Mike, for coming up with the topic this week after talking to a couple people on the call. I appreciate your help as always. And I hope you all have a great day, a great tomorrow, and then a great weekend, because we don't want to miss the selling days. We're at the end of the month. All right, everybody, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I'm Paul Morris, and thanks again. Have a great day.